Hey everybody, this is episode 133 of the Paper Robots podcast. I am your host, Logan NAUGLE, and this episode is with Cynthia Gerriets returning to the show.
Hi, excited to be back. It's been a few episodes now.
Well, you co-host all the time, but this is like the return of you being a guest spot on the show. So you're returning because we're talking about you as a creator, what you've been up to since you were last on the show, and a lot of other things. So go with the theme song. Cynthia.
Hi.
Fiance.
Hi, my fiance. Logan.
Thanks for returning to the show.
I'm excited. Like I said, it's been a while since it's been like about me. It's weird talking about me.
Yeah, I mean, that's because you come on, we talk about topics, you co-host, you do all that stuff, but, you know, a lot of crap has happened since, like, the last time it was, like, 10 Times a Tiger, Cynthia Gerriets, toy designer, fashionista, Met Gala enthusiast.
Met Gala monster.
Met Gala monster.
Yes, that is my Met persona name.
Will you say it en la puerta?
Oh, yeah. Close the door. Oh, jeez. Does it drop everything?
Yeah. So I wanted to, like, actually get back to talking to you about what you do and what's new. And I think first, for people watching video, either live or on the recording, you currently just launched your 10 Times a Tiger fortune cat.
Yeah, I did. And I did, so I launched it May 3rd at Sequential Art Gallery here in Portland. And I started online pre-orders on May 4th. And it is a 5-inch resin figure toy that I made myself. And for the show, I came out, well, first of all, I guess I should talk about why I decided to make this toy was, so I go by 10 Times a Tiger. And I had never made a tiger toy before. And I was getting a lot of crap about it. And it was like, yeah, I do want to do a tiger eventually. But there just wasn't any inspiration or not entirely sure exactly what I wanted to do. And finally came across like, hey, the fortune cat. The Maneki Neko, because I'm trying not to say it like as Mexican, because I want to say it with a Mexican
Embrace
accent.
it. It's who
Maneki
you are.
Neko.
Yeah.
There you go.
But the fortune cat.
The fortune cat. So I did it from my logo design, and I gave it a big old belly, and it's super cute. I love it. It's been... Well, every new toy that I come out with is like my favorite toy. But it's like a 5-inch resin figure. And for the show, I decided to make 10 of them. So I made 10 different designs.
For 10 Times the Tiger.
For 10 Times the Tiger. Finally came out with the tiger. And this is also being recorded live on Instagram. So you
need to be looking at this camera, that camera, that
so I'm
camera,
looking everywhere,
camera.
And there's questions coming through that we'll get to. And but yeah, so I want to talk about each design because each design is a little bit about me.
Wait, I do want to back up because I think it's really funny that you've been called 10 Times a Tiger as your design name, but you hadn't made a tiger design.
No.
And then people like asked you and you're kind of like, oh yeah, like because you're just like, oh sweet, there's these things I want to do, and just because I like 10 Times a Tiger doesn't mean I want to do a tiger right now.
But it also kind of does mean I should do a tiger.
But it totally does. Yeah. So I really appreciate that because you immediately came up with like the logo, which was like the tiger head.
Which the logo Hannah Nance designed for me. Shout out Hannah Nance. She does amazing work. She's super great, does really great lettering, and she owns like a printing company in LA now. She's all around a badass. And this was a few years ago that she designed the logo for me, and I told her I wanted like a little tiger design, and yeah, so that's where that originated from.
Well, so now we can hop around, but yeah, you launched 10. First of all, I'm really glad that we're doing live. I think it's really great. Thank you for watching.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
But you have 10 designs. I feel like I made all of them happen for you. No.
Oh my God.
No, I'm really excited. I felt like you did one and I was like, sweet. And then you're like, I think I'm gonna do this. I was like, yes. I was so excited. Where do you want to start?
I guess we'll talk about first designing them, I guess, because I really haven't talked about this at all, like on the interwebs or with too many people either, is like how many people I've how I came up with each design or how they're all like personal for me. And I guess we could talk about that because like at first I was just going to do like maybe 3 designs and then leave it at that. And then finally just got I just got excited with like how the design of the toy is simple. It's not too much. And there's a lot that you could do to customize it and make it your own. And so I first did the orange tiger, and that's the 10 times fortune cap. And I drew a bunch of little cats on it. So it's orange, and he's holding a yellow coin. And then I put a bunch of like different little cats around it, like drew on its belly and on its back. And all these cats are kind of interacting with each other, have different personalities. One's sleeping, one and that's the first one I designed. And I was like, okay, that one's really cool. And then I decided to do the classic fortune cat design, which is white with the spots. And that one I wanted to do no matter what, because I love that design and it's really cute. And I thought it'd be really cool to see a classic design like that with something that's mine.
Yeah.
And then I did, which one did I do next? I did the Cactus Cap. The Cactus Cat I did because Tucson. Because I love Tucson and it's where I'm from. And so that's why I did the Cactus Cat. And I wanted to make it look like a cactus. So I put little flowers, the cactus flowers, a prickly pear of flowers on top of its head. And
it might be my favorite.
That's been a lot of people's favorite, which makes me happy because it's like a lot of the best people I know are from Tucson. A lot of my best friends are from Tucson. And so I did Cactus Cat, and then after that, I did the Rainbow Cat, which is a rainbow cat. Obviously, bisexual. I think I've talked about that before, so that's another thing that's a part of me.
I believe you've talked about this.
So, and I am involved in the gay community, have a lot of gay friends, and so on. And so that's the reason why I did Rainbow Cat. And then after that, I did
Miss Fortune Cat, I think.
Miss Fortune Cat. So Miss Fortune Cat, I did because well,
first like this glossy black, with like white highlight, kind of creepy, kind of like
it kind of scared me at first because it looked kind of like very gimpy S&M crawling out of a sex dungeon,
a little bit.
Which is totally cool if you're into that, but it just like looked very spooky
while being cute and
very,
like having a panza.
American Horror Story. And so I did that one, and mainly because I've had a lot of misfortunes lately. In the past month, what was it, all of April, I had my phone stolen. I had my work got robbed where I was working at while I was working by myself. And then my car got broken into. So it was just like one thing after another. And it just sucks when all the bad things happen at once and it feels like you're cursed and it feels like you're not safe ever. So I took that negative energy and made it into a spooky cat.
Well, and also like you're playing off of like it's a fortune cat, kind of playing with that idea of like a black cat's bad luck. You've had bad luck, kind of. We've had bad luck.
Yeah, and that's another cool thing because that's been like the one that I've had pre-orders for the most, which is cool because like it's nice that people could like sympathize with that and understand it and like, yep, everybody's been there, and it's like kind of taking ownership of it. It's like, yeah, things suck.
Yeah.
And sometimes like it's just a reminder, even having dumb misfortune cat, that it's like...
Well, and everyone can relate to that.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that. And then I think, what was next?
I did Orion. Orion, which is my favorite. Orion cat is... he's based off of my Land of 10 character. He's the Sphinx. I've made him a couple times now. He's my favorite. He's the one that has the gold chains and a crown. And so I made a cat version of that. So it has gold chains. It has a braided necklace. It has a gold crown. He's blue and purple and very Andre 3000 Biggie look to him.
Yeah, but it's like these pastel, like awesome colors.
And I was even able to use some of the decals from the toy that I did with Orion and put them on his eyes so they have the same eyes. And he's very gold, very shiny. He has gold rings and everything. And and then after that, I did oh God, which one did I do?
There was Lion Cat.
Oh, Lion Cat.
Lying Cat.
Lying Cat from Saga, the comic book.
And in case people didn't know we were nerds.
Yeah.
They're like, I wonder if Cynthia's a nerd. And they're like, bam.
So Lion Cat, I didn't want to like make too many of my characters based off of pop culture or anything, but of course, like a lot of my influences come from pop culture. But Lion Cat is one of my favorite character designs ever. Like it's this giant hairless cat. It's my favorite color. No. It's like this teal, beautiful color, and I love Lion Cat. And just like the way Lion Cat is written, like all Lion Cat says is lying, but like just the expression on like Lion Cat's
like the
face.
I am Groot of Saga.
Exactly. And I've always thought Lion Cat was so cool. So I was like, okay, this is perfect.
Well, I want to like pause on that because I also think like that's a great like reference because other artists, they do... If you follow an artist on Instagram, like who does drawings, or you see them at a table and people ask them for commissions, it's kind of like, or they sell a print of, you know, because they were inspired by Spider-Man. So they have this print of Spider-Man that they draw, or they did a one-off collection of Spider-Man because, oh my gosh, like, or Jack Kirby, like an artist. They're like, this is who inspired me. Like Sean Murphy's art or whatever, I'm gonna draw something in honor or to pay homage to that. And like in the toy scene, it's kind of like that. You see a lot of artists do that. They either do a custom paint job on their favorite toy design, or they do like their favorite artist on their own toy. And it's kind of like that's how I think like the toy design culture pays their homage to like influences and acknowledging that.
Or satires too is huge in the toy world.
Yeah.
And that's what I did with Lion Cat. And then, I'm trying to think.
And then there was Gold Cat.
Oh yeah, I did a gold cat. So I love gold. I like gold jewelry. Obviously, my glasses that I'm wearing right now have gold on them. And Logan also was like, do a gold cat.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
Because when you did some gold of your Land of 10, and I was like, these are like, yes, perfect. It's just like, you got to do a gold cat.
Yeah, so I did a gold one, and then I did Cat Bus for my neighbor Totoro. And that one gave me nightmares. Well, Cat Bus already terrifies me. Like Cat Bus has the creepiest face. And and so of course, like while I'm painting it and adding on to it, like my style went to the high detail, like Miyazaki style
line work,
where it's like close up face, so just like the lines and big glowing eyes and like small pupils. It was like what as creepy as possible with it, and I love it. And I did it because I do have a lot of influence from like Miyazaki, and also a lot of my friends, you guys, were like, do cat bus. When I first posted that I was doing this cat, everybody wanted to see a cat bus. So I was like, heck yeah, okay, I'm going to do a cat bus. So that was because of you guys that I got nightmares.
And I've never seen it, but I obviously know the imagery. I think between meme culture, anime kids at cons, I knew what it was, but I was like, you kept like looking at me like, this thing is going to give me nightmares. You're like, between this and the gimpy misfortune cat, I'm not going to sleep.
I had like nightmares about like orange paint spilling everywhere or getting orange paint on my hands. And it's just like orange paint everywhere. And it's also the one that took the most work because I had to sculpt and add on to this one. So I casted the regular figure with resin. And then I had to go on and like sculpt over the piece and then bake the clay and add it onto it. And so that one I have a very limited amount of how many I'm making because it does take so much work and time and detail. But I loved the challenge and doing something different. And also pushing how far I could take one of my designs and seeing what more I could do.
Yeah, I think this is like been a big step forward. Like the scale of it, like going into that bigger direction that you wanted to go into after like talking about how like the original Land of 10 toys to the blind boxes and then going into the Fortune Cat, like kind of discussing the scale and how like you want to keep kind of getting bigger and learning and growing from that. I mean, also like in the pop culture thing, and I think it's like very admirable to just do a few and maybe commissions down the road or like one-offs like that. But otherwise you kind of go into that, you can fall into that hole of like, oh, I could do the cat from like Alice in Wonderland. Like I could do this, I could do that. But then it's like you're just like nodding to the culture of what someone else knows and not like not paying your own like, oh, I have my own styles, like, and there's voices. And I think that's why it was really cool discussing this like before you came out with it, like these are why I want to do these things and they apply to me, and hopefully people are going to gravitate towards it as well or be able to relate. And
I think maybe that's why like you were talking about like going with your own style, like that's something artists struggle with a lot. I get like trying to find your own style and how you separate yourself from everybody else that's out there. And I think that's why Orion is my favorite because it's very me, and I love Orion because it's been my own design and I feel so comfortable adding on and changing it up and doing whatever I want with that character. Like I've gone from making him blue and purple to pink to like beige or the peach color I have him. But he's still like this. Whenever I get like too lost in what I'm doing, he's what I go back to, like that character. And
yeah, it's like a staple. But I also like, I kind of want to like back up. Obviously, like you launched this toy, but there's those months between, I think, episodes of this like podcast that you were on, but also just like in background and like talking about being an artist, making stuff, and how we all go like, especially like as a writer, I'm always like, I have notebooks full of ideas and like designs, like for you, that's like what you have. And we talked about like, oh, you want to do this, or like, what if I did that, and stuff. So it's really, I mean, it's great. I think the Fortune Cat is obviously like, oh, this makes sense to make this right now. But the process of kind of being a creator and
going back and forth from projects,
but then like drawing a thing, and then I'm like, what is that? And you're like, I don't know, it might be something. Or like the process of having a dream about a weird creature, and you're like, how, like you want to kind of manifest those thoughts and like design it, versus like me, I'll get an idea and I'll write it down. I'll be like, oh, subconsciously it's relating to this thing, but I had to write it down first. Where I think you're kind of the opposite, where like you have the dream and the imagery and you know what it is as you're making it more. Yeah.
And I guess that's kind of taken effect with the misfortunes of this year, I guess. Because I launched my YouTube channel earlier this year, And I did everything I needed to do. I like pre-recorded. I started a new project. I was ready to go. Everything was like bam, 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 hitting its mark. Then my phone gets stolen where I did all the pre-recording on, and what I did my recording on. Like I even upgraded to getting a new phone so I could do all this, and starting this big ambitious project that I was excited about, nervous because I had never done like anything like that before. But yeah, then my phone gets stolen, and it's like, okay, that I guess that's put on hold right now. Like I could still try to do it, but it just like it's either or it's not gonna happen till another long while either way. So then I got the inspiration to do the fortune cat during
was like,
that.
and yeah, you were working on a design to be working on in like coordination with the YouTube channel and you know working with Tino and stuff. And it was like, yeah, it's just fascinating that sometimes life will be like, hey, here's this to deal with. But then you were like, cool, I'm not just going to quit. I'm going to, okay, that means let's do this. Let's make it this instead.
So, like, what was it? During that week, I was like, okay, I guess I can't do this. And let's talk about misfortunes or fortunes or whatever. And then that's when Fortune Cat came about, was when that bad thing happened. But then a good thing happened, a really good thing. Like I had my show at Sequential Art Gallery, which was fantastic. I got to meet a lot of cool people, including one of the coolest people ever. Should I talk about that?
You get, like about inspirations,
yeah. So I got to meet Brandon Graham, which he has been a huge influence of mine. I have his artwork tattooed on me, and it was one of the coolest things ever because I never would have really thought like I would have like sure I'd meet him at some point, but like at my art show was one place,
like not at a Comic-Con, at his table or I didn't be like, hello Brandon Graham, you are cool, thank you for everything. No, it was like he was at my art show, and I was like, I might have geeked out a little bit, just a little bit. Yeah,
everybody said I kept my cool, but Logan knows me the most, so
cool.
Shut up.
No, I think that's a really, once again, it goes back to designing stuff and being influenced by like the art of something else. But then like obviously like moving past just that, like it's so much more like what you're doing isn't just like, I draw because of this or I do that. Like you were inspired and then like ran with your own stuff, and it was like a launching pad. But it is really cool to see someone like go to like your show and be like, oh, hey, you inspired me, but now you're here at my thing.
Yeah.
Cool. Like that's really, yeah.
Yeah. It was awesome. Very awesome. Like maybe the most awesome thing. But yeah. And like, I'm also doing something different that I haven't done like with the toy line really before, is doing pre-orders. And because this has happened to me before where I run out of my product too quickly, or I have like too much of one certain thing and not enough of the other thing. And that, like, as someone that makes toys and I cast everything individually, like I make everything myself from hand. Like these toys that you see a bunch of, like I make everything myself from a mold, and that takes time. And so like I'm doing pre-orders this time, and it's really cool seeing how many people are like totally down for that. Like,
well, but also once again, like I like comparing it to, you know, if I write a comic, I'm writing a story. It's my story. It's not like, here's 10 different, like obviously I'll have, once I have a library of stuff, then I will be able to be like, oh, I know to order, you know, get extra copies of this because it sells better. But you're doing that like with like every time you do a different toy, there's probably going to be a couple variations. So kind of the pre-order, it's the same way a comic shop works, where like pre-ordering a book, because you're like, hey, here's the line, and like I'm not just going to make 1,000 of all these, because who knows what the audience is going to be. And like as the you know, the marketer, the salesperson, the creator, like you have to be like, my time is my hourly rate that I am like not paying myself. So
exactly. And it's been so much like less stressful than any other release I've done. Like, yeah, it's scary because I'm kind of like waiting around. It's like, okay, people say they're going to pre-order. Like, I don't know what it's going to happen, so I don't know how many. But then again, it's only been a week, but so that's just me being impatient in my head. And it's like my first time doing this, so it's like, yeah. But that's probably been the only thing that has kind of really stressed me out with it. Like, I'm shipping everything end of the month, so I have everything casted, and I'm making things as they're being ordered. And I'm so mad I didn't think of it sooner, but at the same time, it's like I have to like get bigger and better and get to that point. Hi.
Yeah, I think I also want to kind of like go back and talk about the process of making this toy, because I know you for notoriously listening to music and zoning out and maybe having wine next to you
always.
So like what's that process like?
So I like to work alone. My escape from the rest of the world and me doing art is I love my me time. I love being by myself, especially when making art. Like, that's where I get to listen to music, I get to watch a movie, I get to have whatever beverage I want. And like, even something as simple as like pre-planning meals, like when I have to work on stuff, I love doing. Like sometimes I'll be like, okay, I'm going to make a ton of tortilla soup and we're going to eat this for 2 days because I'm going to be working hard on stuff. And, or I'll be like, we're going to go eat out on this day because I'm going to be working stuff all day.
It's like, I'll get home off of work and be like, pizza time.
Yeah. And it's like, I love having that kind of plan and schedule and doing things like that. And, so yeah, like with this toy, God, there's been a few different albums that have come out that we've listened to a lot. There's been the Janelle Monáe releases. There's been J. Cole. There's been Post Malone. Oh God, what else has there been? I've tried listening to The Weeknd's new album, but it's kind of meh. Which I love The Weeknd, but it's.
And then there's like indie stuff you listen to, but it has I feel like this line of toys has continued to be on an upbeat path. Where sometimes when you're creating, like even like in like just the molding stage and the clay stage, it's like I hear some Smiths,
some Neutral Milk Hotel.
There's some Neutral Milk Hotel in there, but I think like for this for this like cat and for this like toy, it feels like it's been much more on a higher energy, like go. Like do you feel like that's shifted from the other toys that you've worked on, like tonally?
Well, I think maybe what has helped with it is like that I have based these designs like off me personally. So like it makes me more excited. I don't know. Like I've been able to channel my like sad girl energy pretty well. Like sometimes I'll be like, okay, today's Lana Del Rey sad day, and I am gonna take that all in and put it into whatever it is I'm making. But for this toy, it's been
the story is like 10 expressions of you versus like a story you're trying to tell with the like once again going into like the blind box of the land of 10 being a story of those characters, and each one of those has their own attitude. So it's like they each have their own soundtrack. Exactly. But this is like 10
the Cynthia soundtrack.
Yeah, the Cynthia soundtrack.
Yeah.
I just think that's like a really interesting thing, because I think we all, like, depending on the story I'm writing, there's like lo-fi jazz music, or it's the tone that would be playing in a scene in that movie, like in that story. And but this really has felt like it's all you all the time. Well, we can like pause on like the deep, since this is like a new experiment of recording with you, doing a live coinciding.
I know we have Instagram Live going on,
and we're
Yeah, we have cameras.
Your camera's gonna be like, your neck's gonna like look like this in that frame the whole time. Who knows? But I feel like we could answer questions just like you as a human are, like, because fashion is still a huge influence. Met Gala just happened as of recording this show. I guess who like, do you still look at that as design for toy stuff, or does it just satisfy that like fashion itch that you still have in you as a creator?
It's a little of both, I guess, because as far as like toy design being like my main it's, I take influence from everywhere. Like I'll look at fashion for color choices. I'll look at fashion for aesthetics or whatever it is, and and I'll look at it for a lot of different reasons, and I'm trying to think of like what else. So there's the fashion stuff and the Met Gala, and like even
but like something like Black Panther, like the movie, like seeing like costume design.
Oh yeah,
and like color and how that's being executed. Like, does that influence you? Like, do you still like look at that stuff doing referencing anything? Because like doing like working on a toy like Croc, where you're like, ooh, what's this weird cape gonna be?
Aesthetically, maybe, but not like as far as like the actual sculpt. Because
that doesn't really play. Because you're like, really it's translate. A freeze frame.
I'll do it more for like attitudes and so on. Like, for instance, like maybe I'm trying to think of like an example. Like maybe I'll take like something like Killmonger's like just brash attitude or stance or something or like that. Like I'll take that and transfer that into the toy.
Like, ooh, that's a great pose to like embody that enthusiasm.
Exactly. Like something like I'll take something like that more as an influence, but like something like the Met Gala, like I'll take like something like Rihanna's look, for instance, like that outfit, the balance between like how much is going on in the coat, in the dress, and what goes over the dress. Yeah. And also, like, that's a lot going on at the bottom, but then there's the hat. The hat that balances it all out. Like, the hat is huge and gigantic.
Because it hides her forehead.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, Rihanna. You're famous. You have money. You are very talented, but you got a 5 head. As a fellow large foreheaded human, I get it. I'm allowed to comment on this. Big forehead.
So, but it does like bring it all together, and that goes as far as like designing toys too, because sometimes like you'll see that as a constant with my toys. At least with certain designs in Atlanta 10, I like using the crowns a lot. I like using crowns or headpieces or something on the head, and I just love crowns. I like especially like with the Sphinx or the cat. Like I like kind of the flamboyant royalty, like better than
it's
you
like that. It's like the bougie attitude.
Like I love the bougie attitude, and just like also thinking about like what did they do to get to that position? Like, wow, how did they become that royalty? And like whatever it may be. And that's one thing that I think was really cool is Rihanna's look. Like there's also like the balance. I love how crowns balance and do all that.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I am constantly I'm not just saying this because we, you're going to be my future wife. Humble brag. I'm not just saying it because humble brag.
Future husband.
But it really is. It's fascinating to see like the influences and like being someone working over here in the shadows and in the corner and being like,
because I took over the rest of the house.
Yes, maybe. See, I told you this podcast was going to be about problem solving. On the Paper Robots, it's all we're here to do. It's therapy for me. But I have no. Little fist.
We're just fist fighting right now. I'm just hitting on him, officer.
Ossifer. But it is. It's really cool to like see the growth and the development because I do words and seeing like design and like something represented in a 3-dimensional space and how you take in music, how you take in aesthetics or flat like 2D things and translate that, or like how that is expressed, is something that is very foreign to me. So it's really cool that I get to like vicariously like live it through you.
But it's also like really cool. I know. Okay, so this is something I give Logan a lot of crap about. Logan is not allowed to touch my table. I have a table that Logan's not allowed to touch. When
what do I do with my hands?
Because I have like things I'm sculpting on or things I'm painting or whatever it is. It cannot be touched by anybody else's hands but mine. But it's cool to see you get so excited that you want to touch one of my toys. Like you want to grab it. And that's why I love toys so much, because it's like it goes back to like being a kid in your childhood and seeing a cool toy and be like grabbing it and playing with it and interacting with it, like feeling it, touching it, and have it interact with other toys or yourself or friends or whatever it is that you're doing. And that still happens being an adult. Like,
because we're giant man babies.
and I get to see that with you. Like you get excited and you're like, oh, I want to touch it. Then you're like, oh, I'm not allowed to. You're like, like that's cool that I, even at home, I get to see you get excited about something I'm making.
Well, I think I think toys are these like wonderful things that, you know, you can, it's like looking, once again, like with comics, you can like look at the pretty pictures inside and just like follow those and kind of get it or whatever, and just like be like, oh, it's these beautiful pieces. Or when you pick up the piece and you actually start to look at it and you're like, oh, what is it saying with the expression on its face, or the scarred look, or the worn leather? Mm-hmm. Like, why is it posing like that? Like, what is it? You can either just like be like, this looks cool, like immediately, or when you pick it up and look at it, you start to go, oh, like it's positioned like this, it's designed like that, it has shading here. Like there's so much more like levels also that I think are really fascinating. That, or you can just immediately, like, there's something that can just be immediately gratifying. You can pick it up and hold it and be like, this is cool. Ew, I don't like this, but I'm intrigued. And then as you are holding it, you're like, oh, there's like, why it has this and blah, blah, blah.
Like, yeah, there's what, like, I love the Living Dead dolls. Like, I wouldn't collect them myself. They're very goth girl, very Hot Topic, but they're like, they are a story in a toy. Like, they come with intriguing bios. Like, some of them are rhymes.
Also my favorite band, Intriguing Bios.
Oh my God.
Had to say it.
Yeah. Obviously, like a 2-person indie band.
Yeah.
Yeah. Opening for like Conor Oberst or
they've
something.
They've been partners both as a band and in real life, on and off multiple times. Sorry, goth dolls.
But those are really cool because they do come with bios and like a poem or story in the back of them. And that will tell a little bit about them. Like, oh, she got this scar from blah, blah, blah. Or she's bleeding from her eyeballs because blah, blah, blah. And you'll see that on the toy. And I think that's cool.
But if you don't want to, you could just like open the box, take out the toy and be like, this is a thing
the
that
cool,
I
creepy
like.
Toy.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the cool things about toys that are kind of exclusive to toys. Like you can't pick up a book and not read it and then be like, this was a cool book without reading it. Like you have to, or you're like, this has good weight. That's all you can do with a book without reading it. So I think toys have this very interesting, and there's like a very interesting culture in the, what's it called? It's like, I've been trying to like decide what the terminology is for like designer toy. Cause it's like designer toy collecting, like
toy collectors, and
like it's like a desk toy. It's like a high-end
art toy.
I think art toy or designer toy seems to be the right.
Art toy or designer toy. Usually people get more. I usually say designer toy because that's what I know. But when I say art toy to people, usually they're like, oh,
it's an art toy. I have many of those in my bedroom.
They are from the pop vinyl.
The Funko.
The Funko.
Oh yes, I have the many dead-eyed as we have those in our like making fun of them, and then we have them. Yeah, I continue to be fascinated with toy design, and I'm glad I get to watch you grow and do those things and see where it goes, because it kind of seems like it's the new kid on the block type of like scene still.
Yeah, and it's growing. It's getting big.
Like, is that an intimidating but also really fun thing to be a part of, where it's fresh, but it's like new territory, so it's kind of interesting to go out there, but there's some heavy hitters, but it's still growing and changing, unlike comics, which is like at this point very established. It's reached pop culture. It's kind of out there.
With toys, it's very interesting. Like in certain places, like let's say, from Tucson and Phoenix, like there's a lot of toy collectors and a lot of toy designers. There's toy shops there, like Lulu Bell and Expanded Universe, that are well-known shops. And coming here, in Portland, there really isn't anything. Like there's Floating World that has like their one vinyl toy section, which has a lot of cool stuff, but it's not like a full store. Like
like the Pacific Northwest kind of has less of a toy designer attitude, it seems.
Exactly. But it's also Portland, like we mentioned before, there's a lot of artists not making art. And people love seeing art and are excited about seeing toys. Like pretty much everybody here has been like, oh my god, toys, that's amazing, you make that yourself. Get a lot of support from that, which is great. And it's just there really isn't like a collector scene. There really isn't a scene. So it's like, it's cool that I get to be the one that exposes people to it, where it's like, hey, there's this other option, for art. There's toys and sculptures and things that way. And like, it's super cool, and it's exciting. It reminds me, like, first getting that involved with that in Tucson. And I mean,
do you think like that there's gonna be a secret app for toy designers that like y'all can get together and be like, hey, I just showed my friends toy design and art toys, and they'll be like, I know, I just showed my friends art toys. Like you're all in your corners like talking about it, because like you're all that person to your group or whatever.
I mean, I totally see something like that happening eventually. Right now, it's such a small community. There really isn't too much of that. Like the people that are involved in collecting or toy designing are very like, yo, I have this one collection. You might not understand Hyper focused. Like, yeah, I spend a lot of money on like collecting toys, and their friends like, oh my god. And like a lot of people get that itch to just like, oh geez, I almost fell. To get that itch to want to collect. And like I've had that. Like when I first discovered toy designer toys, and once I got a job and was able to afford these, heck yeah, I was buying a bunch of them. And toys are cool. So it's like, I don't know, toy collectors, keep getting your friends to collect toys.
Well, I also think there's a huge like interest in toy design, and the intimidating thing might be like, or people don't they're so intrigued, like more so than, I think everyone sees a cool painting, but no one wants to drop $350. Toy design sometimes has that price tag, so people are like, that's freaking cool. Don't have the money. Or like, well, don't have the money, depending on the price, whatever. Mm-hmm. But I also think there's still this like huge fascination with it. It's kind of like how when you have friends in a band and you don't play music, you're like, that's really cool. My friends, have you met my friend's band? They play music. Like, I don't. So like they become your hype man. And I think toy design has a lot of that too, where it's like people are really interested. So do you want to, I mean, I feel like people that follow you might already know some of this, but listeners of the podcast might not know like kind of the process. We can talk about that a little bit since we started with the show with like what your new toy is. We can now like go backwards and talk about kind of like working on something, and then we'll wrap it up.
Like, you want to talk from
like so you
sorry.
You have a clay mold that you work with, right?
Oh, how I make toys.
Yeah.
Okay. So I first come up with whatever idea it is that I have in my brain. And then from there, I start sculpting the toy, and I sculpt the toy out of clay. And I'll use Sculpey or whatever clay it happens.
Do you ever like, you sometimes do like the rudimentary like drawings and stuff?
Super rough sketches, because
they're kind of hard to tell what they are.
Hey, it's Mike. Hi, Mike. Hi. But yeah, I don't really like to draw too much. Like, I'll do it sometimes every now and then, but I'll do very rough sketches of what I'm doing just to like plant the idea down and not mostly not to forget it. And then from there I'll sculpt a toy, and I'll prime it like maybe 4 or 5 times, depending,
to smooth it
out. So like, depending on what I'm sculpting, like a lot of people ask me like, oh, how do you get it so smooth? How do you get it so flat? So what I do is I'll sculpt, sand, sculpt, sand, sculpt, sand. And Sculpey you could bake over a few times. So you could like sculpt it, bake. And that's what I do. So I sculpt, sand, and add on from there. And
because I feel like people might think like, oh, I've seen this at a Hobby Lobby. It's the ceramic thing. And it's like, no, it's like the Sculpey that becomes a hard clay-like thing.
Yeah.
And then you make a cast of it. And I think that's what's interesting is there is a process, and like your doodles are like me jotting a note down of like, ooh, that's a cool sentence, or like that's a thing I don't want to forget. And I like that's what kind of a drawing is for you in toy design. And I think that process of how the brain works and translates is really interesting.
They usually just look like Ditto from Pokemon with googly eyes.
And you're like, that's gonna be a cat. Like, how did that become this? It has details. No, I think it's really interesting, because then you make a mold and you cast it after like you've sanded everything down, and you get it to where you want it to be. Then you can make a mold, and then you're pouring, and then that's where like things can change depending if you do like a resin cat. Like, it just kind of depends on what you want.
Which I do want to do vinyl at some point. Like, some people were asking about that. I think honestly that might be my next step with my new toys, because because of how much time it's taking me to make more things and the demand for toys. So the more you guys want my toys, the more I'm gonna do come closer to doing vinyl. So yes, I want to do vinyl so bad. So
it's just like, it's another like process. It's another type of process for toy design. And I think
where it's like I have to send my sculpt to somebody to go make vinyl in China or Japan or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that like terrifies me, like sending one of my like master sculpts to somebody.
This was my thing.
This was my baby.
Yeah. I feel like it's how olden days, how you'd send your like drawings in the mail to get printed for the comic. It's like, all right, I hope they don't lose this or it gets damaged in travel. And now you can just scan. Also, I'm sure like they're gonna be like, whatever, we'll just scan it now. Like one day it'll be super easy.
It'll be,
because there is 3D printing, which is an option, but like I feel like that's a whole nother discussion of like, we could like talk about toy design as like the step by step, which is like what you might be talking about or giving hints on in a future return YouTube channel, right?
Yes.
Well, so what can people? You can always send a wax master. Okay.
Oh.
But look at it. We got Instagram telling us to get off the phone. We got me saying let's wrap it up.
Okay, bye Instagram.
Where can people see you? So Sequential Art, you actually have stuff that'll be through the rest of May. So Pacific Northwest, Portland people can check that out at Sequential Art this May and June.
Yeah, June we're actually doing something really cool where I have a bunch of local Portland artists going to be painting and customizing their own Fortune Cat. So you can see what other artists are going to do with Fortune Cat. Oh my God, I just burped. I'm sorry.
What other people are going to do with Fortune Cat?
Fortune Cat. There you go.
Yeah. And then
I'm a lady.
You have You're most active on Instagram.
Yes. So Instagram, you can find me 10 times the tiger. On my online shop to do pre-orders, which if you want a fortune cat, I highly recommend doing pre-orders so you could get it sooner. And those, that's at 10timesthetiger.com. Facebook, I use sometimes, 10timesthetiger.com. I mean, just 10 times the tiger Facebook. And, yeah.
Yeah. And then I would say you have Tucson Con is like the con you're doing this year. There might be between now and then and like after that, like events, like gallery shows, like because I know you're getting more into that. So I think that's where like people can find you. But I think following you on like on Instagram is gonna be the best way to be like, oh, this is where like you, Cynthia, are announcing I'm gonna be at this event, I'm doing this thing, and then just. If you can't make it to a live thing, you have your online store, and I think pre-orders seem like what you're gonna be doing in the future.
Yep.
I always love having you on the show. It's always great.
I like being on.
You're a great co-host because I think getting someone with a different perspective and view, and like creative mindset of like seeing something 3-dimensionally, versus like an artist versus what I do. It's always fun having you on the show. So I was glad we got to talk about like a new thing that you're doing. And 10 times the tiger, follow it on the internets. Cynthia Gerriets, thank you so much. I love you.
I love you. Do you say this to everybody you have on your show?
I say, I end it with Cynthia Gerriets, I love you to everyone.
Aww.
Yeah. Thanks for being on the show. Now I'll address the audience. Thank you for watching, listening, subscribing, blah, blah, blah. If you enjoyed the show, as always, just share it with someone that might enjoy it. Thank you so much for everything. Have a great night. Have a great day. See y'all later. Bye.
Bye.
This has been a Geeks Rising production. Your executive producer of Vandrew Scott. For more information, head over to www.geeksrising.com.